Welcome to the conversation at airsafe.com. I'm your host, Dr. Todd Curtis. On December 11, 2013, the NTSB conducted a day-long investigative hearing into the July 2013 crash of Asiana Flight 214 in San Francisco. This hearing featured public testimony from representatives of Boeing, Asiana Airlines, and other organizations directly involved in the accident and the subsequent investigation. The following report from Al Jazeera America covers some of the concerns raised during the hearing, including the possible role of cockpit automation in the accident. And at the end of the report, I was interviewed by John Siegenthaler of Al Jazeera America about some of the issues discussed during the NTSB hearing.
Now to the crash of Asiana Flight 214. The jumbo jet broke apart after landing short of the runway in San Francisco earlier this year. 3 people died, and tonight federal investigators want to know what went wrong and why. Lisa Stark reports.
Surveillance camera video released at the hearing shows how violent the accident was. Moments before the crash, pilots realized they were coming in too low and too slow. They tried to correct. It was too late. The jumbo jet hit a seawall near the end of the runway, snapping off its tail, sending the plane skidding. 3 passengers, teenage girls, died. One key focus of the hearing, how pilots use sophisticated cockpit computer systems. In the Asiana crash, the captain disconnected the autopilot to take over the controls, but did not realize that also disabled the automatic speed control on the Boeing 777. The crew then failed to notice the speed was dropping. It has been a challenge for other airlines, too. In 2009, an Air France jet plunged into the Atlantic, and a Colgan Air flight crashed in Buffalo. Investigators blamed both accidents partly on confusion about cockpit automation and the pilot's failure to handle the controls correctly when the autopilot kicked off.
Just last month, the FAA issued a report that found that pilots are so reliant on the automated systems on airplanes that they're sometimes losing their skill to actually take over and fly the plane in an emergency.
The report said pilots should be given the chance to practice their basic flying skills, both in the plane and during training. Also critical, automation design. New documents reveal that even before the Asiana crash, there were concerns about Boeing's automatic speed system, which will not kick back on in certain settings. The Asiana pilot told investigators he thought the auto throttle system, the system to maintain airspeed, was always working. Boeing defended its design and pointed out ultimately it's the pilot in control. It'll be months before the NTSB finishes its investigation. There will likely be a host of recommendations to improve the delicate dance between man and machine. Lisa Stark, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And our transportation contributor, Todd Curtis, joins us now from Boston. Todd, what did we learn from these hearings?
Well, we learned a variety of detailed information about the crash. Of course, the general aspects of what happened has been fairly well known for several months now. But what we had here today was, in basically open testimony, the designers of the aircraft talking in great detail about what their expectations were for pilots that they trained. And that may be one of the keys here. The Boeing representatives expected any airline being trained to fly the aircraft, any aircraft pilot, to have certain skills. And it seems as though in this case, those skills may not have been there or may not have been strong enough to deal with a situation like what happened in San Francisco.
So is the problem with training?
The problem may be with a combination of training as well as airline procedures, and also assumptions made by even the designers of the aircraft. And again, this goes back to the very beginning of the design of the 777. Were there certain assumptions made about pilots not just in the 1990s when it was designed, but going onward into the future? And as the FAA report recently released pointed out, perhaps some of those assumptions that the average airline pilot would have basic aeronautical skills, perhaps those assumptions are no longer valid, and the training should be reconsidered because of those.
So do you think pilots are relying too much on the technology?
Some pilots are, if they don't have the proper procedures being drilled into them, if they don't have the proper examples being given to them by senior pilots, and if the industry as a whole, and especially the manufacturers of the flight control systems and the automated systems, don't emphasize the fact that basic aeronautical skills will still be necessary no matter how automated that cockpit may be.
So do you think that we've uncovered with this crash a serious problem that really needs attention?
I don't think this crash alone uncovered it. I believe, as the FAA report pointed out, there are other indicators that this may have been a problem. What this crash has done is shine a very, very bright and very public light on the situation, and it may be the kind of catalyst that will get the industry and the regulators moving a bit faster than they would have otherwise.
Is there a difference between the major airlines and the smaller carriers?
When it comes to basic training for how to fly a particular aircraft model, not really, because both the large and small airlines are looking toward the manufacturers of the aircraft and of the particular control systems on an aircraft to make sure that they are trained to a very, very high level, no matter what size airline. And again, the basic characteristics of how to fly an airline doesn't really matter how big that airline is.
Todd Curtis.
It will still behave the same.
It's great to see you. Thanks for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
For more about this accident investigation and about other incidents involving the 777, please visit 777.airsafe.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.